3, 2, 1. We're recording. Avoid legal snags by telling people they're being recorded. So, FYI, y'all being recorded.
We are now unsnaggled.
Wait.
Yeah. Skype gave me
Who?
that.
We are?
Legal- Yeah.
We're being recorded?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Skype
I
provided
guess I'll still do it.
and it said, tell them, let them know. So I'm letting you know.
We don't have intro music. You didn't count us down, but we don't have intro
Oh, I
music.
counted. Yeah, I counted you down.
But Bjorn does have a nice new. Bjorn does have a nice new backdrop tonight.
Yeah.
Well, it was blurry. Yeah. I'm downstairs. Spur of the moment. Hopefully the audio is okay, but
Pretty good right now.
if it's not, okay, great.
Sounds great.
It sounded crisp and clear.
Really?
Yeah.
All right.
Is my audio coming through?
It's been better,
know,
but it's
pretty
not
good.
awful.
Yeah, it's coming through.
It's okay.
A little delay on some
All right,
things,
it's
but
not
you're in the
chopped.
woods.
Yeah. Meshach's
So it is.
reporting live from the
Yes,
woods.
I am.
Yeah.
Live from the woods.
Live from the woods, dog.
It's where you got to be when the coronavirus is striking. Everything's shutting down. It's crazy out here.
Oh my God. We were just talking about that on the pre-show. For premium subscribers, you can get the pre-show next time.
Yeah.
My date in court tomorrow got canceled.
I would imagine.
Super
I don't
bummed
think
about it.
You
like
should have gone to Jerry.
Yeah.
I genuinely, I was just saying to Meshach, I'm kind of like on a real doom and gloom perspective, where like when I take the dog on walks and I just look around, I'm like, this is slow motion apocalypse. Like this shit is fucking crazy.
Yeah. I've never
Slow motion apocalypse.
Yeah.
That's
Like
a
for
good phrase.
real, like I genuinely like I thought to myself today, hold on, is this just a dream? Like, is this real? Because it's not going back to normal ever. It's only going to get progressively weirder, and it's probably going to happen fast.
Yeah. There's new information out apparently that the government was a little privy to prior to it really being released. I can't remember where the study came from, but they ran a model based on how spread worked in China, South Korea, and Italy, and the beginnings of the U.S., and then forecasted what the outcome would be here in the U.S. based on our choices to either quarantine or not, or really clamp down on that shit, or let some shit slide. And it's looking like 90 million Americans could be infected with this thing.
Yeah.
In the next 3 to 6 months.
Yeah.
Death rate, between 1 and 4 million.
Right. Right.
That's just.
I know. And it's like, I was just saying to Meshach, it's like, I find it particularly concerning that, like, we don't know for sure that once you've had it, you can't get it again. That's not a given. B, it survives in the air for 3 to 5 hours. C, it survives on like stainless steel and hard plastic for like 3 days plus cardboard for 24 hours. Like, and all of these things a week ago weren't the understanding. So it's like we're learning more and more that any positive or optimistic assumption we make is wrong, like at every turn. And I'm just thinking, like, in a way, a week ago, hearing like 90 million people might get it, I was like, oh, that's probably a worst case scenario, whatever. Now I'm kind of like, yeah, I see how, and I understand why.
Yeah.
And I just see how, if it was just the United States, you'd be asking, like, can the U.S. recover? But this is modern existence. Like, how do hospitals, food service, gas stations, all the essential things to just even survive this, I don't even see it. Like, I don't even understand how it's supposed to not be catastrophic.
Well, yeah, exactly. And I feel like we've talked about the idea of a pandemic like this for so long in pop culture.
Mm-hmm.
And it usually is primarily concerned with like some heroes coming up with a quick vaccine and stopping it before it gets global, right?
Yeah.
Or something to that effect. And it's usually a much more sinister, big killing, bloody disease.
Right.
And this is actually far more sinister
I
because it's
know.
so like it's so sneaky,
Right.
and the fact that we could all be carriers at this moment.
Right. And have no idea.
Exactly, and then also its durability and the in the wild, or off
Yeah.
outside of a host is impressive. But I think one of the things in all those early pop culture predictions was a lack of really seeing that the timeline, was what we're talking about. We're talking about human Earth going into shutdown for like at least half a year, probably.
Yeah.
And
At
you're
least,
right,
bro.
it's not ever going to go back to normal. But like that's like maybe that's best case scenario. 90
Right. Well,
million in 6 months
I
down,
agree.
Ugh.
Especially if
Um,
people can get reinfected. Um,
yeah.
or, as I said to Mishak earlier, if it becomes a seasonal thing, let's just say with all these crazy efforts, we get a foothold over the next 6 months, and then next November or December, all of a sudden it's back with a vengeance, just like the flu, like
Yeah.
minor adaptations, and it's
Yep.
back doing the same thing. And we're, even if we have a vaccine, we're in the same place. So, and like, I don't know, I'm friends with Spencer Wells, the geneticist, like on a certain level, and I've been following his posts, and he said like, okay, we're heading out. Like he and his wife are going to somewhere remote, and like basically holding up. And I saw a comment on his Facebook post from one of his friends who was like, glad you're safe. Take care. And Spencer's response to that guy was like, I hope you and your family will do something similar. It's about to get apocalyptic in the U.S. And I just feel like, as a geneticist, uh, I trust his
Jesus,
caution.
that's
And
cold
as
stuff
a
to say for
friend, I
him.
am surprised by his actions in a way of like, okay, he's hiding out basically from this thing. Um, and in general, I just look at it as like just another sign of, you know, everything we're being told. It seems like the human like default is to just be like, okay, this will probably just be a few weeks. Like we almost can't do anything without talking ourselves into it. So it's not even necessarily lies. It's just people go like, okay, well, we got to do this for a short period of time, right? And then slowly you go, okay, it's going to be a long period of time. Okay, well, it's maybe forever. You know what I mean? Like it's just like step
Yeah.
by step we're coming to terms. But if you think about how fast it's actually moving from like a month ago when this was just like kind of interesting talk or whatever to now where it's like serious, genuine concern and fear for every individual, like I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
I'm
it's
just
been a
not
Well,
big
optimistic.
that's officially the scariest first 15 minutes of the Flawedcast history.
right?
Um,
Yeah, it's hard not to
but
be
I'm
scared these days.
I'm curious. You guys hear me okay?
Yeah, but maybe your video might be worth cutting because you're
Yeah.
choppy
Okay.
on the
I'll
audio.
try that.
Yeah.
Let me try that.
I mean, I love seeing your pretty face, don't get me wrong.
Is this any better?
Hard to say so far, but I hear you.
Okay.
Yeah, what were you gonna say, Misha?
Well, I was just gonna ask, do you think this is aliens?
Maybe. Yeah, right.
Like,
Yeah.
so you told me about the Sirius star
Yeah.
the other night. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Can
Absolutely.
you tell our listeners about the Sirius star?
The star Sirius is I guess it's now considered a trinary. For a long time, it was considered a binary star.
Uh-huh.
And then in the 90s, they discovered that, yeah, it actually had a third red dwarf around which there was potentially an exoplanet. And Dogon, you're familiar with the Dogon tribe in Mali, I think, Rob. You've seen documentaries that include references to them.
Yeah.
Their history, the tribal mythology says that they lived in Egypt 4,000 or 5,000 years ago and left at some junction to move out to where they currently live in Mali. And they carried with them some really old knowledge from that time. They have symbology for a lot of atomic substructures that they use in motifs, in paintings, tribal symbology on art, and they call it like creator, pieces of the creator. They refer to it in these metaphorical, but interestingly, like accurate sets of terms. Anyway, so their fascination with Sirius was such that they, as anthropologists, began quizzing them more about their mythology and their connection with Sirius, which in other Western terms is called the dog star by some. They revealed that they believed there were 3 stars there, and there was an exoplanet, and there'd been an alien group who had come to this Earth in the past from that exoplanet. They were an aquatic species. They named them like they had this amphibious type of a name just to describe them, and also called them teachers. They instructed early humanity in a lot of its early arts, and then left. Their return in Dogon myth would be when you saw the 10 rays of Sirius shining. And up there on Saturday night, Sirius was glimmering hard and like had these colors coming out of it. It was the wildest star I've seen with my naked eye. It was really cool. And and so I had to play that documentary again to like remind myself a little bit more about the Dogon myth. Anyway, interesting aside for sure.
Right.
I don't think it's aliens that caused the coronavirus. I think this shit has been waiting to happen. I mean,
but
nature's
on that
response set.
On that,
it was aliens. It was the coronavirus came straight from Sirius.
Okay, well, but let's play with this speculative element for a minute because I find it really interesting. Aliens is one avenue, and it's interesting. Another is straight up chemical weapon. Whether chemical weapon test going as planned or accident are 2 whole other avenues. Another thing that I just find interesting is in a way, science or anything you do is never precise, like when you burn the crops or whatever, slash and burn or whatever, like things you do because you have to often have also negative results, like there's, let's say, when you destroy things in order to rebuild them, you also destroy certain things forever kind of stuff, and this is just interesting to me because it's imperfect. Like this doesn't discriminate. Rich and poor can get it, old and young can get it, but old people are more susceptible to dying, and the less critical you're thinking, the less serious you are about it, the more likely it is to get you. And if you think, and this is just like, I'm not trying to be cynical, like I'm just genuinely like thinking about this, like if you're Earth itself and you're going, okay, I've got this species living on me that has gotten to a point where it doesn't believe in any of the negative impact it's having, it's not willing to do anything, and the people who are most responsible for these things fall into these categories. How do I defend myself from these people? Like there's an evolutionary logic to the Earth itself developing essentially an antibody, to the thing that's killing it. And sometimes it's going to miss, it's categorizing things in broad boxes. And so sometimes really great, smart, thoughtful people get caught up in it. Not everybody who dies is old, but statistically, you know what I mean? It's killing off more old people and those in denial and those unwilling to believe science than any other population.
Yeah.
And that is it's just fascinating is all I can really say,
Well, it's not only fascinating, but I can never remember hearing of a disease that had an age targeting graph that moved from sparing those with less guilt on this earth and indiscriminately attacking those who have accumulated more guilt in leaving a larger carbon footprint, etc.
Yeah,
as far as like
especially collectively, like if you average it all out, right?
Yeah.
Where that 80-year-old might be the most
side.
Yeah, and I mean somebody who gets caught up in it might be the most responsible Earth citizen. You know what I mean? But on average,
which is sad.
The targets of it. So
it's sad, whoever, because most of the time it's done out of ignorance. Even people who are not good to the Earth, they just don't know any better. It's usually done out of ignorance.
Oh yeah, nobody.
But at this juncture, I think that modern humans, if whatever their choice set is, you've got all the information in front of you. We've been knowing for 50 some odd years that we've been really screwing this earth over.
Yeah.
And if I don't care if you're 80 now, you knew when you were 30 that there was a problem. And if you haven't made any behavioral shifts, then you've accumulated a lot of earth guilt. In that sense, but like, have you heard of a disease that like spares all the youth? Pretty much.
Well, it doesn't though, especially because in apparently in South Korea, a lot of younger people have had pretty serious fights with it.
Really?
I don't know the numbers, and it seems like every day numbers change anyway. But
yeah.
From what I heard.
Okay.
But I mean, I think one piece to the pessimist's puzzle, just for throwing it in the mix, is that without any question, the testing going on is inadequate. And the idea that anyone who thinks they don't have it has any degree of certainty is essentially just as true as you want to make it. Because at the end of the day, like the three of us might have it right now. We don't know these things. Nobody's being tested on that level. So the only people being tested are people who already look like they have it. You know what I mean? But they're saying that it's people who are asymptomatic or pre-symptomatic may be more effective at spreading the virus than those that are symptomatic. So obviously we know people coughing and sneezing who have it are spreading it, right? And that's what we're currently defending against. But what we don't know, it seems, but what seems to be developing is that the people who have it and don't know they have it yet are actually spreading it in more concentration and higher concentrations. So, you know what I mean? Like, it's just like, what the fuck? Like, this is, I'm all types of pessimist right now. Like, I'm not trying to bring down the Flawedcast Nation, but
this is a cold one though. What if the arrangement is that sort of biological warfare thing? And I mean, anybody could be guilty, right? But like, say China was privy to it and said, we're going to start it here because our response is going to be, hands off for 1-2 weeks, don't know what's going on, what the heck, and then shut the shit down. And we will quarantine people into their apartment buildings, into their apartment blocks. Doctors are on the street. That's it. We stop this fucking thing in its tracks as much as possible. And we know what a social virus this is, how it works. Those who don't have it are the ones out spreading it. So everybody's shut down. That's really the only way to handle it. It's appearing now. Like now that we're starting to become familiar with the functionings of this, the actual only way to stop it and create that slowness to the curve is to shut the shit down hard.
Right.
And people aren't going to go self-regulate on that. Even, there's just, I'm supposed to. I can be open because I'm a grocer. I'm not required.
Okay.
But I'm flipping the switch on Saturday. And I'm just gonna go to mail order. And none of my staff wanted to self-volunteer to go on unemployment, which, kudos to them in some light. But if some of them had volunteered, I might have tried to keep part of the store open in some fashion. But
Yeah.
it's more than the last 24 hours. I've been really stressing over it because it's just been hitting harder and harder and harder. And I was like, no, man, like there's so much other shit at stake here. And, public safety, my staff safety being the first and foremost. And even if I'm allowed to be open right now without, cafe food service, I need to stop. And, so, maybe I should have pulled the plug immediately. I don't know. But
Well,
I
it's
said
very
it
hard to
terminated
expect
on
someone to
Saturday.
do that.
So
I don't know. I don't know what the right thing is, but I think you're on the right track because, again, I can't think of a single thing. Like, this is kind of like as if Y2K happened and we
yeah,
were
yeah,
we were in the midst of a slow spiral of technology stopping working, and at first you'd go, well, we're going to get these things fixed. But I don't know. I'm really, really struggling to see how it comes back from here. So at the end of the day, I think people who have a job right now, that's great. It's very fortunate. But the idea that anyone will have a job in like 5 months, I think, is probably just foolish. Not foolish, just not correct. Like I just don't see it, and therefore I don't understand because like even when you think about ways socially to try to mitigate the damage, it's like all right, um, give a check to every adult, because so many people can't work. Well, at a certain point, if I'm the guy that works at the grocery store and I'm going every day to work, touching surfaces, interacting with people, touching their
yeah,
cash, all that
yeah,
shit, and I'm watching those people who have different types of jobs getting a check in the mail so that
yeah.
they can buy their food, and I'm working every day to give them their food. At a certain point, I'm going to probably get tired of that. So the only real hope is that we can confirm that people who have had it can't get it again. Because the way I see it, the workforce is going to have to either completely end altogether or it's going to restart with people who are immune, which is the best case scenario, in my mind. Because if you've got
But
immunity and then you can go work in a store
isn't there a
confidently,
third
like,
option?
I don't know.
So,
Is what?
can you guys hear me?
You said, isn't
Yeah.
there a third option?
I'm going to kill my camera so that um,
Yeah, that
the
Okay.
helps.
upload
Yeah.
is a little better. Is there a third? Like, what comes to mind is I was talking to a friend of mine who's a musician, and he was saying that since most of our friends' tours have been canceled, if not all of them by now, but at the time, several musicians' tours were canceled, and in order to make ends meet, they started teaching free lessons online and just asking for donations. They would
Yeah.
teach,
Yeah.
guitar or, different
Yeah.
whatever they do. It strikes me that there will be a lot of industries that evolve from the opportunity of everyone staying at home.
Yeah.
For example, like DoorDash is probably thriving in cities where there are a lot of DoorDash, but like Camino Island, there are no DoorDash drivers, so businesses can't count on DoorDash to help them stay open. If businesses have centralized delivery services, they could use centralized delivery services to keep them open, but they don't have them right now. What that makes me wonder is, are those kinds of services, are those kinds of like industries about to start thriving built around the society. Built
Maybe, but
around a whole society of people who are like just staying at home, and we have these systems like Amazon is spying in, hiring right now. They're hiring like 2 or 3 times their normal number of employees at every warehouse, and hiring drivers left and right, and etc. Isn't there going to be, because of the nature of America? I'm not trying to be arbitrarily optimistic here, but I'm just curious if there are also opportunities and innovations that could come out of this potential stasis.
I don't think it's I don't think it's DoorDash and Amazon. I hear what you're saying, and I agree. But I think DoorDash. I was a food courier for a long time, and I'm feeling really lucky that I'm not right now, because if what I was doing every day was running into 5 to 25 restaurants where the surfaces, the doors I touched, the bags I picked up, everything else were just completely in this Wild West uncertainty because nobody even knows whether they have it, let alone if they have symptoms. And then I was bringing all that shit to households where they were ingesting it, touching the bag, eating the French fries. I'm actually quite concerned that is going to be one of the big areas of pain, is that the drivers and the recipients of those things and the restaurant workers are going to be. Yeah. Are you wearing gloves right now, Mishak? He's like alone, isolated on a forest island, and he's
wearing gloves. I was just going to say gloves are what we all need to get a lot more familiar with.
Mm-hmm. To be clear,
when we go into those
I'm wearing these gloves specifically because they have lining on the inside that are very warm.
Okay. Well, so I'm personally concerned with delivery of goods. On the other hand, I'm mildly optimistic about things like what we're doing right now. Like, people are going to have a lot more time at home. People are going to have a lot more time to collaborate remotely. There's going to be a lot more pent-up desire to create, to innovate, to do things. And there's a lot of hope that people who are really smart, who do other things with their time, might find their calling in this. And I don't think that that's far-fetched or overly optimistic. But
and that's very likely to happen. We're going to see some positive come out of this, as we always do. I think and that's a different frame of reference from the taking advantage of it frame. Like, we can be optimistic in a few different ways, or we and also be real about how serious this is, what it's going to be. But there's a vein that's kind of like, I think people are trying to make feel optimistic, and that's, how do I take advantage of this? Like, I'll be able to afford real estate once the market crashes, and I can buy into the stock market really low and get rich quick. Those sorts of thoughts are coming to a lot of people, and like, I don't blame them, because that's part of the human sort of, like, we intuitively go for looking at those advantages. Right. Well, if I'm going to be a survivor of this shit, I'm going to try to come out on top, tell you what. Right. But like, there's also a little bit of like, let's also take the moment for where we're at right now and make sure we do get through the other side of this as best as we can. Like, and that involves like being hyper conscientious about our actions right now.
Right. But what do you think about, because I think another whole lane of my general concern is, okay, it's 2020, basically the very beginning of this year, and I'm just more saying that as a coincidence than anything else, but 2020, basically from the start of the year, there is this threat to like human civilization. And right now we're set up in a way where we don't have a lot of social safety nets and various other things. It's an election year in the United States. Tyrannies and other twisted forms of government have been in vogue lately. Uh,
Yeah.
the idea that there was a primary yesterday and people went to polling places to vote blows my mind.
Yeah.
Uh, and the idea that this November, this year, when we think 6 months is the like minimum of this new phase of our existence to be, the idea that in that amount of time, November from now, you know, which is what, 8 months maybe or so,
Mm.
uh, that all of a sudden everything's going to be all good. That this, if a Reichstag fire helped Hitler get to power, like I guess I'm just seeing the seeds of this being used by tyrants to take the world over. Like, there's never been a more willing
Yeah.
populace who's just
Yeah.
like, look, just do something to save everyone, and it's worldwide.
Absolutely.
So there's such a window of opportunity for tyrants uh, to take advantage of this too. And that's just on top of all the other concerns. So that's like part of the reason why I'm just in this like super negative space about it all. It's just like,
No, I agree with that. Yeah. I think that's an honest appraisal.
yeah,
This is fodder for for totalitarians. This is, you know, an autocrat's you know, feast
wet
day. Like
dream.
they're
Yeah.
coming out trenches exactly. And
Well,
and
just like
and
you just
yeah, no, but
sorry,
like
just
to
like
what
you
you were
just
saying,
said,
Mishak, too.
like
Like the delivery shit, like Amazon, um, they stand to benefit from this the most. And like, I love Rob's optimism in some circumstances, but like, we're gonna be living in a world where perhaps interacting with each other is only done in hazmat suits.
Right.
You know,
And by
that's like,
Skype like this, like
yeah,
we may have
exactly.
seen each other in person for the last time kind of stuff. I
That's
don't know.
crazy.
I don't know that I'll see members of my family ever again. Like, I don't know that. I can't. The only thing that can prevent me from questioning that is arbitrary optimism, as I think you said, Mishak, where I just say, yeah, but that seems so crazy. That couldn't happen. But on the other hand, like, there's a lot of reasons that it could happen. Things are developing every hour, let alone every day. Um, and I don't know. Like, I think what's really weird is if, God forbid, someone that you know and love, especially someone who's older, starts having symptoms and has this in the near term.
Yeah,
Maybe if fortune is on their side, they'll get to a hospital that's clean and safe, that can take care of them, that has the equipment and the beds
yeah,
necessary. If it's a little longer from now, the idea that that's the reality is going to be smaller. And if it's like what I hear and what they don't really say explicitly is the case in like Italy and maybe Spain, they're having to say, well, okay, we got one bed and one ventilator and 10 patients. Who gets the bed and ventilator? Like they're at a point now where people's lives are literally being weighed
yeah,
against one another's.
yep,
So not only might we have seen certain people for the last time, but these might be the slowest deaths that could be imaginable, where people you know and love will die slowly by text, like away from you, like where, and in a weird way, again, to the twisted humanity of it, think about how much more passionate of a way to go, as hard as that is, as brutal and terrible as it is to say, if you were something like a Mother Earth that's fighting against something that's gone awry and needs to stop it, has no choice but to pull an emergency measure, but is trying to do it with the most compassion. It's trying to kill, let's say, people who are closer to their own death than people who are further
yeah,
from it, and trying to make them not just die immediately, but have time to express, like, communicate with their loved
yeah,
ones. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
it's just
This isn't a volcano. Yeah,
right. And in a weird way, as sick and painful and twisted as that all is, it's also like bizarrely. compassionate or merciful in a weird way. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
That, yeah, maybe the last time you saw so and so was the last time you'll ever see them, but at least it's not the same as a car crash where, like that was it, and you don't even, like there's a time for everybody to come to grips with it in this case.
Yeah. Yeah.
Man, I am a downer. Sorry.
Yeah, you are. Thanks, Rob.
I'm
Well, I mean,
sorry
like,
because I know it,
Rob,
but
I got no, but I gotta be honest. I hear you, and I appreciate like the reality check, because where I've been coming from is, how do we just keep moving forward?
yeah,
I'm CEO of a startup that is in the middle of fundraising.
yeah,
They're like, how the fuck does the world still exist on the other side of this, and what does that world look like, and can we still exist in it? Can we still do what we want to do in it somehow? And can we be prepared for, like, kind of leading the way to keep moving? Like, one of the things that my team and I have talked about quite a bit is, can we communicate to everyone some sense of normalcy in the middle of this, and some sense of momentum, so that we don't get caught up in thinking too much about fearing all the things that could happen. Because at a 2% death rate, 98% of us are still going to be here. And even if it's annually, still a huge number of people that still have to find a way to make life better. And not only obviously everything you're saying, but like, in protecting ourselves and spreading the virus and et cetera, but also it's a reality check back to, hey, young people, maybe pay attention to the elderly. Hey, people who are building things just to be greedy, maybe build something that is actually helpful, et cetera, et cetera. Hopefully it's a reality check to everyone who survives this to rethink their priorities,
right,
and to rethink what kind of life do we actually want here,
right, and maybe there's
if
no way
something
around
invisible something invisible that is nonpartisan, that doesn't have a race, that doesn't have a nationality, that doesn't speak any language, it didn't jump over any walls, like it didn't break any legal, regulations. It's just going to kill us, right? That's a different kind of, holy shit, wait a second. Nobody's pressing a button here.
that.
Let's all take a second. And, I heard once that in the Cold War, I don't remember who was on the phone with whom, so I pretend to know. But these world leaders were on the phone with each other, right? One from the US and one says to the other, if aliens landed today in Venezuela, would you defend Venezuela from aliens? And the other guy said, yes, of course. And at least can we start there?
Yeah. Well, I like the thinking of the 98% in particular. That's a fair reason for optimism, but I think the one of the concerns that I have is when I look at whether it's the Nazis or even like the Khmer Rouge or other repressive regimes, generally, if you can be identified as part of the threat at a certain point, if 98% of people can survive, then what's going to happen to that 2%? Because anybody suspected of being a part of that is going to be like shunned and put into a black hole with the rest of each other. It seems like that would be another possible outcome. Instead of everybody for everybody, let's all quarantine and self-isolate and whatever. One of the few alternatives is to know for sure who does have it. And if we still can't do anything about who has it and whether you get it again, then it may be that having it means you need to be isolated, sent to a leper colony. On the flip side, and this is one of the reasons that I just continue to struggle, is we don't even know right now. It could evolve rapidly. It could become something worse. And people right now getting it might be the lucky ones. Those of us who don't get it right now might have a much harder time avoiding it next season, whereas the people who got it this season maybe will be immune. I don't know, and I just feel like since none of that is known,
Yeah.
it's all again just making me struggle so much with where to find the genuine, legitimized optimism versus the just but everything usually works out, but it hasn't always worked out in history. You know what I mean? Like humans, let alone the universe, haven't always experienced everything being hunky-dory. Society hasn't. Why would this moment in history be somehow immune when we're killing the environment, when we're doing all this shit, you know? But there is still tons of opportunity. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I mean, there's crazy opportunity, not necessarily business opportunity, but opportunity to evolve,
Well, and I think your take is right.
The difference from it. Sorry. I was just going to say the difference from a historic standpoint is that quarantine now means we can Skype with delivery services bringing stuff to our homes. And even though there is still some exposure, it's not exposure like a grocery store or the mall, and it's not exposure like face-to-face communication. So we have a huge amount of modern luxuries that can keep us alive for a very long time in this kind of situation.
Yeah.
Compared to other times in history.
Yes.
That's not to mention modern science and our history of eventually coming up with something. Now, global warming and kind of long enough tail type of problems have been very challenging for science to put enough money behind to actually come up with real solutions. But immediate, urgent problems, humanity does have a pretty good track record of coming up with solutions for urgent problems. There is some, we have a lot more to work with than other points of history as far as.
Well, that, and we've all mutually agreed that, if you really need the money, you can pretend it actually is just printable, or you don't need to pretend. Like, you can just create the money if you really need it. So, but keep going. Sorry, Mishai. Looks like I interrupted you. Dire times, man. Dire times.
Yeah.
And I guess I just think the point, like, that I feel evolving in the consensus on how to kind of cope or deal with this thing is like, at one hand, admitting to ourselves it's going to be a while, it's going to be serious, people we know are going to be hurt from this.
Yeah.
Adjusting to that already, so when it gets there, we won't be floored by it, and then secondly, like, instead of like, buoy your optimism if you want by thinking of ways to get ahead in the future. That's great. Create new businesses, create new ideas, invent something great just for people, whatever. But I think that in the moment sense of like owning up to this and this experience of where we are, we've been negligent about so many things in this world for so long as a group of societies.
Yeah.
And being in it and paying, kind of taking a little spiritual break right now, to check in with ourselves, how we feel about how we inhabit this world, how we feel about the value of our lives in it, what working for somebody or working even for yourself or in any capacity in this world really means. I think a lot of people are gonna, I hope, take it to that level, like in some soul searching, like really identifying meaning and purpose,
Well,
and
and
depth.
maybe on that level, there's optimism to be found also in the idea that uh, when you have the society that we've accepted for so long, it is not poised to deal with this. So
Mm-mm.
even though Bloomberg, as we were talking about a couple weeks ago, can spend $500 million on TV ads to try to become the president of the United States, like at the end of the day, he's not any more immune or safe from it really than anyone else. He can probably quarantine more easily. He can probably cut off the circle of people he deals with more easily. He can certainly stockpile and survive longer. There's definite benefits to the billionaire and uber wealthy classes in this scenario, but yet
Mm-hmm.
it's not enough to keep anyone from being exposed to it. And overcrowded hospitals, as an example, aren't gonna suddenly become uncrowded hospitals for certain people. Yes, there's some who can pull strings, who know somebody who can pay this or that, who will grease the wheels or whatever. But that being said, um, I just don't I don't think anyone is spared, from just like the trauma of it. So if there's something to catalyze people to rethink things, to look at society as a whole, to potentially start to embrace like social welfare as a priority, how do we make sure we all are okay as kind of like the
Yeah.
bare minimum?
Yeah.
It seems like there's a lot of potential for people who would never have considered that shit now to go, wait a minute, I kind of get it. So it could also be the catalyst to an awakening. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
lot of possibilities out there, but it's also I have like when it's weird, but when I go walk the dog alone right now, I feel like when I leave my home, I'm in a different world than when I'm in it. Like
Yeah.
the outside world feels different and confused and foreign, and scary, already. Uh, and it's just easy to fall into that pattern of thought, like of just
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
like this is
But
like I guess the pattern of thought though, just sorry to put a bow on it, is like as if I'm in the pilot episode to a Netflix post-apocalyptic sci-fi movie,
yeah.
and we're in the phase where we're still just giving you the background, where we're explaining
Yeah.
how it got to this point. Um,
Yeah.
but yet the actual show hasn't started yet, and there's just a
Yeah.
very magnetic sense of that in me right now. Like
Yeah.
this is just the preamble.
It feels it's like reality coming to fiction, creating reality. Reality coming to fiction. Like this has been part of our narrative, this type of thing. Um, and we've known we ought to be scared of it.
Right.
And here it is. And that's kind of one of those. It was a known all along.
Right.
And
And
wasn't,
unlikely, but a maybe. But what's crazy too is I guess on in the spirit of like just embracing the good, the bad, and the ugly, and the potential of everything. It's like if it is so dire, if some of my worst feelings are true, in a way, like so be it, right? Like a comet could have taken out the dinosaurs or whatever, right? Like
mm-mm.
there's been times where very sudden changes have disrupted all that
Yeah.
is known. And sometimes that happens too. And as traumatic and painful and hard as it might be to grapple with, especially in the moment, it's just weird to think that, like, I think I've had dreams and I've seen movies about like, oh my God, there's an asteroid headed for Earth and we all have a week to live and everybody has to come to terms with certain annihilation immediately. And this is
Yep.
uncertain, maybe annihilation, maybe not, possibly. You know what I like over period of time versus immediate, in the worst case, right? And that too is kind of interesting. Like it's like what a weird way. What are the things we should try to get done while we can? What are the things that like while we're coming to terms and accepting things like that we can just accept and laugh about even, like okay, like this thing or my like I don't know. I was even looking at things like enjoying what I get to eat or caring about what I'm wearing. Like those are all things that like might be literally gone forever already.
Yeah.
And in a weird way, there's a certain liberation to that too. Like of just being like, it's just existence. Like it's just all we got, and we just make the best of it in the moment, and it's all going the way it's supposed to. I guess.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of that, I was actually thinking about that. I was like, it's time for everybody just to wear their nicest fits every day. Like,
like tuxedo
put your
day
dopest shit
every day.
on
Yeah.
every day.
Yeah, just look
Because
fly.
it
Wear the
could be your
same suit.
last, man.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Just every day.
Like,
Who cares?
whatever makes you feel good, like,
Yeah.
and around the house, just like, do the thing that you love. Just fucking whatever your fucking vices are,
Yeah.
folks.
Yeah.
Enjoy.
I know. Like in a weird
Uh,
way. So, I mean, we'll see. Maybe on the other hand of all this, maybe all the measures that are being taken and the fact that, really smart people are afraid and are working on it will mean that uh, a month from now, like we're like laughing at our pessimism from tonight, and I would welcome that. I'd be like delighted to look back on like this episode, for example, and go, God, I was fucking tripping. Everything was
I'd
all
like to,
good.
yeah. If we
That'd be
can
great.
retreat from the brink,
Yeah,
that works for me right
I'm
now.
down
Like,
as fuck.
I've
Sign me
wanted
up.
this shit to fall apart like most of my life. Like
Yeah,
since I was like 10 or 11, I was like, I want to watch this motherfucker burn.
yeah.
That'd be a blast. And now we're like standing on the edge of it, and it's like, oh
We just
no,
bake
this isn't.
instead of burn.
Yeah, this isn't the type of burn I was looking for, anyways. And
Yeah,
damn, no, I don't want to do it. Now I know what it looks like. Nah, let's try to get along, folks.
I know.
Can we be adults?
Yeah, well, and what's funny is we talked a few episodes ago about like the uh I think I said like blockchain society, which was more of like a metaphor than anything else. But the idea that now, at a certain level, what do borders matter if the border anyone observes is their own home? You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like you don't go out of your home if and you can connect with anyone anywhere in the world as easily as you could a neighbor and more safely, then everybody is like maybe this is also a way for the leaps in technology to catch up with like the needs of humanity. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, okay, suddenly a fucking biochemist in country X now can talk to someone in country Y and they have a shared reason to want to cooperate and collaborate,
Yeah.
you know, and like whether we're making music or podcasts or whatever, like there's more of a motivation to do everything. So
Yep.
it could be that we're transcending our current model of how the world is broken up and resources and power and respect are distributed to where it's just a universal thing, because anyone can have a good idea, anyone can unexpectedly solve a problem, and you know
Yeah. And I don't know. And barring the absolute extinction of the human species, um, whatever is gonna come out of this is something will be learned. I hope.
yeah. Well, I think
Maybe
that's for
this will
sure.
be, maybe there'll be stories in the future of like, instead of a flood, It'll be like once there was a flood and then there was a bug. And that was a bad bug. And that went around and bit everybody. And there were only 2 people.
Yeah.
And,
I mean, maybe.
Yeah.
I'm not ready to say that's not going to be. Yeah.
No.
Maybe they'll be out of Steve.
What's that?
I think the virus is fucking with the signal.
Yeah. Al Pacino, what? Jeez. This is like, yeah. Speaking of aliens.
I know, right? It's kind of fitting, almost.
Sorry, guys. Now?
It's just such a funny tone, too. Meow.
I wonder if the recording is fine, though. I bet you it is. It'll be like, those guys are being assholes. He's fine.
Yeah. Who knows? Yeah, but I'm going to start digging. I was thinking about asking my neighbor to borrow his tractor excavator so I can start digging my bunker, man. Because it's not only like go out to the island and have some vegetables time, but it's like and a bunker.
Yeah. I don't really disagree.
But I also was talking about this on the last cast. I'd probably just rather run away. They'll find your bunker.
Well, that's kind of the concern, yeah.
But I'm definitely swooping up hella seeds in the next week or 2. I'm planting everything out tough this summer.
Good.
I'm feed myself real good from the land if I can.
Well, one side effect benefit thing that I was thinking about is, at least in the near term, whether they talk about a moratorium on rent or any of this shit, nobody's coming to kick you out of your place. You know, if all the service employees don't have money anymore and nobody can pay their rent, the manpower necessary to evict all those people from their homes, and then the logistics and opportunity necessary to fill that empty space with someone else who's going to start paying you, that stuff is kind of silly too. So presumably people are going to be able to stay, like if you're fortunate enough to have shelter, I would presume you should be able to keep it regardless of what happens until like another really dramatic shift in multiple different choices, directions happens. You know what I mean? Like if
there's a proper like breakdown in order.
Right. And then in that case, maybe people would come up and just say, we're taking it and you can't do anything about it. And that's all.
Or you're now paying the building gangster in this value, you know?
Right. Or going to work for them or.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know that. Remember, Bjorn and I read this book series from Octavia Spencer. Is that her name?
Octavia Butler.
Butler, excuse me. R.I.P. And it was the parable of the sower and etc. And it took place in a post-apocalyptic world where like communities had to create their own little like micronations in order to just exist. And that too doesn't seem super far-fetched to me right
now. No, it doesn't. But then of course my gun, my gun broker, license broker, missed all the UPS deliveries. So it's at the facility in South Seattle for his ass to pick up. And I'm like, is he even going to go get my gun? And then when's the paperwork going to come back from the police? Because I want to take my gun and kind of leave like now.
I'm
ready to leave town. Yeah.
I don't blame you. Like, Yep.
But yeah, we'll see. I mean, the shipping side of the business will stay open, so I kind of might need to come check on everything related to that. It just depends on how severe it all gets and what the fuck happens.
Yeah.
You know, it's day by day, and I mean, I feel like that's just how, like we've been playing it so far, but the time to not play it like that anymore and to realize that this is like planning. This is serious planning time. We've got to. There's no more day by day. Just plan. Plan for it to be bad.
Yeah, I know. Because what's the worst that happens, right? You expect the worst, and you get pleasantly surprised. You expect the best, and I mean it's the opposite. So.
Yeah. Like your homie Spencer Wells. Like it's not like he's not having fun out at his fucking apocalypse. He's
somewhere good.
Marshmallows. What's that?
He's somewhere good. He's like in Bali or some shit. Like,
oh shit, jeez.
But still, like he's in a hotel somewhere. He's in a reasonable like position to ride things out for a while. Again, it'll be hard for him to get kicked out wherever he is. You know.
Is that your door?
I don't know. I'm gonna go check things out though, real quick.
Yeah. Why don't you go do that? Oh, the apocalypse is here already. Fucking A, Meshach. Wow. This is wild. All right, Flawedcast Nation. Hold tight. We're waiting on Rob to get back here with the positive report. It's tense. Meshach's trying to transmit, it seems like. He's giving it a shot, but it's tenuous times out here. Thanks for bearing with me, folks. Appreciate having you around with us today. It's, I hope you guys are being safe at home, washing your hands lots, practicing the art of compassion for those around you, and calling your family and loved ones. And you know, we ain't at the end of times, but it's time to remind ourselves to be good to each other again. Say hi to folks. Hi, folks. Yep. I don't know what safety levels are going on in anybody's other image coming from the island now. It's lovely. The meaning of it all is beyond me, though. Rob has not returned. I'm like, do we need to call some? Oof, there he is. I was just about to be like, I need to call the 911 and send him to your house right now. Bobby's been gone too long.
After all the pessimism of the night, that was just my wife banging on the ice because it was all stuck together.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I was like, are you making a drink? And she's like, yeah. I was like, oh, great. Nice. That's good for now. Let's just make drinks.
Exactly.
Yeah. Let's just fucking live right now. Because... Oh, boy. Well, this is a fucking uplifter of an episode.
Yeah. Oh, God. We're just shining for the world right now. I'm sure we're not alone in that. I bet you most podcastry is full of negative vibes these days. We keep flashing into another kind of post-apocalyptic scene there with Meshach and his gloves.
Yeah. One thing, in general, I was thinking... there's like when I look at my feed of podcasts, for example, everything is about coronavirus. Like all the different shows, no matter what the general subject matter is about this. So on the one hand, it's therapeutic and good to talk about it, especially because I feel like the way we're talking about it right now is maybe different than what I'm hearing out there. Like I'm hearing like status updates and, you know, positive spins on bad eventualities. And maybe the pessimism is refreshing, but overall and in time, especially if this takes a while or it goes on, I tend to believe that content that's just good old fashioned having a good time, being fun, like whatever, could start to have a whole new value too. So I don't intend to make it like every week is doom and gloom.
No, let's not doom and glooming.
Yeah, but it did need to happen on a certain level, because like on one level I'm floating these thoughts out there with you guys because I'm having them, and I'm like, fuck, like I'm really struggling to find the inner critic that can tell me I'm being stupid, you know, or that can tell me this is way overreacting. You know, I'm not getting a believable voice in my own head
Yeah.
that can make those statements.
Yeah. I feel that, and I think you're not misguided in that. And that sentiment just kind of started really settling on me in the last few days.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
I spent some time kind of trying to hope it would just not be that big of a deal. I think even though it was obvious it was going to be something.
Yeah.
And then, and I like asked all my staff, I was like, you guys comfortable being here? You know, I just want you to know, like, there's no obligation to be here. You know, if you want to go on unemployment, I'll vouch that you're a standby person. I will rehire you once things get back to normal, etc. And nobody wanted to do it, you know. And
Yeah.
I had to tell Carol she had to go. But like, man, yeah, it's it just it yeah, it's a situation that as a business owner, you know, I never would have ever thought this call set would have been mine. Like,
Right.
I would expect it to have come from like a public health outfit.
Right.
And I get that, like, my business is a little bit different. Like, I'm kind of a specialty grocer. You don't need my stuff. I sell food, so maybe I should keep selling food to people because they need it. But I'm a lot less essential. And if I take my potential vector of transmission out of the lines of public, you know, their interaction capacities, that's just is one step better, hopefully, for everything.
Right.
But damn, man, I sure do hope landlord gives me some sort of slide or something. Because
well, let's, like, you know, just for the sake of the exercise, think through that line of thought, but start rather at the baristas, the bartenders, the servers, you know, who survive mostly on tips, who probably don't have a ton saved up, and whose businesses, for the most part, are being told they have to close. Yeah, there's some people available for delivery and stuff, but a lot, 70% or more of the people in those positions are losing an income immediately. Exactly. And they aren't going to be able to pay their rent. And they're not going to be able to pay their bills. And even if this only lasts a month, that's going to be the case. So you can argue politically, are they going to pass something for these people? Are they going to send a check out? All that.
Yeah.
But just assume they don't. What does that group of people do? Like, something has to give, you know? And the idea that anyone is going to be able to enforce, like, collections or any of this kind of stuff, or evictions, I just don't see it. I can't imagine it. Like, your landlord will be lucky, you know, to be able to have you come back as a tenant later. There's not going to be a flood of people. I don't know. I just, like, I kind of think, like, huge intervention is inevitable. There's no way around it. Like, every government.
How the hell are they gonna get all the checks right, man? Like, what they're gonna, like, I was just thinking about the physics of all that, and just the actual process. That's 330 million of us. Who gets it? Is it every taxpayer?
I think it's every adult. Yeah, so probably every taxpayer or so on. Maybe every registered, every human that's, like, on the books as an adult. I don't know.
Well, I hope they have my most recent address. You know? It's like,
I know. Geez. And what might make sense is, I mean, that's a whole other conversation, you know, but, like, give money directly into people's bank accounts. Like, don't make me touch a piece of paper and go take it to another human or scan it in. Just put $1,000 in my bank account. But even then, like, there's so many people that are going to need that kind of stuff within, like, a week, let alone a month, let alone 2 months or 6 months or 8 months. And they're going to need it again. So that's where I'm saying, like, I don't see landlords, anybody who can charge you for anything. How on earth are they gonna enforce? Like, we're starting from scratch. You know what I mean? Who's gonna enforce anything?
Yeah. And $1,000 is gonna walk a lot further in fucking Kentucky or West
Right.
Virginia or
Yeah.
than it is out here.
Well, just imagine that you are check to check and you get $1,000 check and you owe
Yeah.
$1,100 in rent.
I ain't paying that shit.
Hell
The fuck
no.
no.
I need that money for potentially water and food, right? I'm not going to
Yeah.
give it to some landlord who's probably not going to be able to enforce anything. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah. Oh. I'd rather people spent their money on weed than give it to their landlords, please.
Right.
I mean,
That's why.
let's be serious.
Yeah, I know. And that's another reason where I'm just like, how does this all come back together? Because who's going to keep score?
Yeah.
How are you going to settle the scores? When it's all said and done, you just need people like Bezos and Bloomberg and shit to just admit, like, this is all fucked. We got to just step in and try to help fix everything for everybody. We're giving up our billions. We're going to be like regular citizens. Like, that may be one of the only ways to equalize things, is for those characters to just come through and just fund and organize the next steps. Because I don't know if Donnie's going to do it.
Yeah. I don't know.
I was relieved
we'll
to
have
hear.
To see it. Yeah. What's
I was relieved to hear he's known it's been a pandemic long before anybody called it that.
Is that his most recent statement?
He said it.
Oh god.
Even though like 1 week ago he was like, "Yeah, go to work. It's fine. It's a hoax. The Democrats are doing it." And now he's like, "Oh yeah, I've been saying it's a pandemic. Fuck yeah, these dummies just called it that."
Oh my lord.
Yeah.
I hope his reckoning comes here soon.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of reckoning going around. Well, I guess since Mishak is in the woods, we probably gotta close the circle, huh?
Guys, I don't know if you can hear me, but I'm listening.
Yeah, I can
Hey,
hear you.
I hear you vaguely.
Yeah. Hey.
Followed along
No.
the whole.
Excellent. I'm sorry we couldn't have you verbally
Yeah.
following. But it sounds like you guys, if society exists and so on, we'll have stronger connections up there soon. So we'll go.
I feel like society will break down well before Verizon, like AT&T and Verizon. So I think we're gonna have apocalyptic Wi-Fi.
Well, and that is very possible, and that's a positive thought too. So I'd say we'll definitely podcast next week, if not maybe even before, because things could change so quickly, and this is like the only way to even hang out anymore. So the podcast was visionary in its sense of social interaction.
Yeah, and this may be a good prompt for us all to bring more guests into the fold. Now that there's more people sitting at home using Skype, probably available more often, and I don't know, maybe even other times a day. If we need to do it this late, but if there's a earlier in the daytime time too, I'm probably available for that.
Yeah, I mean, theoretically, I started a new job last week, but in practice, I'm wondering how long anyone's gonna think that's the case. So it may be that this is one of our main jobs, and if so, more power to the Flawedcast.
Yeah, let's keep cranking out these bangers. Just
that's right,
award-winning, tear-filled bangers,
genre-shattering fucking opuses.
Ooh, there you go. What type of podcast? What genre of podcast are we?
Current events.
Yeah, there you go.
I think. Yeah, it's going to be a very popular.
We're our own genre. We are flawed.
Oh yeah, that's right. The flawed genre can't fit into any other genre.
The flanra.
Love that.
Anyway, it's getting cold out. You look cold, bro. Yeah, and you're in the woods, and Rob, your family is of course welcome to come hide out with us.
We
You know
might,
how to get there.
Okay, thanks, because you never know.
We're gonna do some, like, we'll follow some protocol to make sure everybody's safe too.
Yeah,
if
I
you're
think you
coming up,
gotta. Yeah, you gotta have certain stages to everything at
you
this
gotta
phase.
stay in the tent for a while.
For
out
like
at
2
that field.
weeks, dude.
We don't even want to talk to you, bro. You have to stay in
Honestly,
that field in
yeah.
that tent. You can stand outside the tent for a little while, but don't come over fucking here.
It's in
We'll
everyone's
throw
best.
you some food.
Yeah, it's in everyone's best interest, man. It honestly is. So,
Hi.
well, until then,
Yeah, exactly. Let's hope that's not soon.
yeah, we'll hope that's not soon, and then we'll hope that we'll have more Skype sessions until then. But otherwise, we'll all be in the same place.
Exactly. See you guys later.
God bless.
Hasta luego. Big hugs to everybody.
Likewise, back at you and to the Flawedcast Nation.
Yes. Big hugs to all humans and non-human living things.
Virtual
Fuck a virus stuff.
Yeah.
Fuck a virus.
Yeah, fuck you,
All right.
virus. All right.
Peace.
Peace.